Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are going to be creating a new modular building for this street right over here. So recently, we've been doing a lot of structural work in the city, like the train tracks and the roads, and then all of the mills plates and foundations and things like that. But I think it's finally time that we actually start tackling some of the open space here, because as you can see, there is quite a lot of it. That whole row of base plates is open for the taking, as is these two right here. That one's open. There's a base plate next to the Palace Cinema, and then there is some base plates over there, along with that whole back stretch. So we have a lot of space to fill, and I think we're going to start over here today, and then hopefully in the future, whether that's in a month or a year, we can actually start to fill out the rest of these buildings and get the entire thing filled. I think that'd be pretty cool, but we're going to start over here today. So let me grab some pieces. I'll pull out this base plate. We can bring it over to the build table, and we can get started. All right, so this is the base plate. Not much to it yet, but I did grab a couple different types of pieces that I think I might be using. So the main color that I'm thinking is olive green. I bought these probably almost a month ago at this point, or somewhere around there. And these were extremely cheap, so I bought like 100 of them. So I have a bunch of those. I also have a handful of 1x2s, as well as a bunch of masonry bricks in olive green. So I will definitely be using some of those in this build. I don't know if it's going to be half the building or maybe the whole thing. Haven't fully decided yet, but I also brought over some tan as well as some light gray and some accent colors. And I also have these dark tan palisade bricks, and then also the tan like hay bale piece. So that's kind of what I'm using as inspiration. I don't have any real ideas for this yet, but I'm going to map out the sidewalk first, and then I'm probably going to go from there. This base plate is the one that's next to the custom pizza shop and townhouse. So I think I'm going to have it be at least almost in line with it, maybe not exact. So gives it a little bit of depth on the base plate and makes it look a little bit more visually interesting instead of having the entire city block just be in a straight line. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take a couple measurements of that building, and then we can go ahead and start to map this out and hopefully create something that looks pretty good. All right, so I still have no idea what this building is going to be, but I'm starting to get an idea as to what I want it to look like. This is kind of what I'm working with so far. So I want a window here, and then a window on the end, and then probably a door here. I'm thinking, I don't know if the door is going to be raised up or if it, and then also on jumpers, or if it's just going to be in line with this. That's kind of what I'm working with right now. And then this 6 stud wide section here, I'm thinking it's just going to be an alleyway to the back, because otherwise this entire section is not going to have access to behind the buildings. So I figured that is probably pretty important. So we're going to have a little alleyway going through here. So I'm going to build this up with probably light gray. I think that's probably the way to go. And then I'm going to make this mostly olive green. And then I'll probably add some light gray accents into this main olive green section here. But this is kind of what I'm working with right now. I might have a back door. I don't know if it's going to go this way or this way. And then I'm going to have the wall either here or here, something like that. So this is what I'm working with right now. Nothing super exciting yet, but I am getting a couple of ideas. So I'm going to get to work, and I'll give you guys an update once I make some more progress. Okay, so this is what I was talking about on the side here, making a little alleyway. And instead of just using an arch on the front, I figured I would put the arch on the back just so it's continuous, but also I would use tiles on their sides to make it a little bit more visually interesting instead of just having a flat wall and an arch. So that is kind of what I'm going with right now. I just need to find the tiles for that. But over here, what you'll notice is I added a couple of jumpers in, and pretty much what those are for is pillars out front, because this wall without this was pretty boring and it was pretty plain. So I wanted to elevate it a little bit and give it some more interest. And so these are the wrong colors. I want these to be reddish brown, but I can't find any at the moment. So I definitely don't have the 2 tall plates in brown. I only have them in medium nougat and maybe a couple in light gray, but I probably have a couple of these in brown. So I should be able to replace the dark blue pieces with reddish brown. But for the meantime, I'm just going to leave it like this because it's just a concept at the moment. I'm trying to get an idea as to what exactly I want this to look like. And so I'm already working on a window design, so I'll show you guys that in just a second. But this is what I have so far. I didn't really work on the back that much. I'm still not sure if I want the wall to be back here or if I want it to be up more. So it's just a matter of whether I want this to be in line with the wall, to be in line with this already started wall, or if I want it to be back here and then have the door on the side. I'm leaning towards that second option, but at the moment that is my thought process. So with that being said, I'm gonna go back and continue working on this, and then once I'm ready, I'll show you that window design, and then we can kind of take it from there. So this is what I was kind of talking about here. This is what I want it to look like. Obviously, I want the entire thing to be reddish brown, like I said, but I just don't have the pieces at the moment. So I will probably be making a bricklink order before the end of the video, hopefully, so that I can actually get this looking how I want it to. And I'm probably gonna replace this jumper as well, because it doesn't wanna stay. But the point of this clip is to show you guys the window. And so I took some reddish brown jumpers, and then I took this half plate, half tile, and I offset it, and then I just placed that like so. So the jumpers are overhanging a little bit on either side, and then I placed that on top. So then I have a spot to put some flowers. And then this is the window design that I came up with. I was gonna use the regular window frames, but I figured I would make this a little bit more interesting. And so basically it's built like this. And then so you can see the brackets on either side, and then the plate, the 1x2 clear bricks, and then the plates in the middle, and then the bricks again, and then the tiles. And then I put a reddish brown tile down there just to help kind of tie the little section together. And then the light gray tile on top is going to be the top of the floor, and then that will just have the second floor sitting on top of that. These rounded plates on the sides are not final. I just needed that to get to the proper height. So I'm gonna have to raise these pillars up by one plate. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I need to figure that out, but this is really good. I'm really happy with this. Unfortunately, I only have 5 of these brackets in light gray. I have a bunch of them in dark gray, but this is the only other bracket that I have in light gray. So need to add that to the list of things that I need to order. But other than that, this is looking pretty good so far. So with that being said, I'm going to continue working on this, and I'll be back in just a second with some more progress. All right, so I went ahead and pretty much made this back wall here, and I think this looks pretty good. I like the amount of detail on it. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I do plan on going in and adding some windows though, but I just haven't gotten around to that yet. I'm running pretty low on regular olive green 1x2 bricks, so that is something that I'm going to need to order as well. And I am thinking about putting a door on the back here on the side, as opposed to just facing straight towards the back of the base plate. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I would like to have a little awning over it as well. So that is something that I want to do. But for the most part, this is where I'm at with the entire building. And this is just the first floor, but I've used almost half of all of the 1x6 olive green bricks that I have. So I think I'm going to need to go in and rework a couple of things, definitely add some windows to the back and change up a couple colors, because this is not going to get me very far if I keep this same plan. So with that being said, I am going to place a bricklink order, get some of the pieces that I need, and I will be right back once that arrives. Okay, so some time has passed since that last clip, and I went ahead and I didn't make a lot of changes, but I did go ahead and add a couple of tiles around the top here and also around the arch, just to give you guys a better frame of how tall this first floor is going to be, and also the shape of this arch here. These are 3x3 curved tiles here, and I think this actually is looking pretty good. But in order to continue working on this, I placed a bricklink order, and that just came in the mail. So we are going to unbox this, and I'm going to show you guys what's inside, and then we are going to continue building, and hopefully we're going to be able to finish this. I don't know how far that's going to get us, because I didn't really buy 1x6 bricks. That was something that I forgot to see if the seller had. So just going to have to make do with what I've got, and hopefully add a bunch of windows onto this to make up for the lack of pieces that I currently have. All right, so a lot of this is for this building here, but a lot of this is also for other stuff around the city and just like other projects and things. This is all pretty much for the building here, except for these rail pieces in here, which you'll see right there. These are for the fire brigade. I am starting to collect pieces for that, which is why you can see all these windows, and then also all of these other pieces in here. The blue, it was a bunch of cheap stuff, so I wanted to get a bunch of stuff for some other projects, and to also just have these pieces in different colors, whether it's for the water or just different snot bricks in case I'm building something where you're not going to see it. So I wouldn't feel bad about using the blue as opposed to like gray or something like that. And then the dark tan is also for the fire brigade. So they needed a bunch of 1x1 plates, so figured I would just pick those up. And then I showed the 1x2x3 windows already, but I also got a bunch of 1x2x2. So that's good. I needed these to finish the town hall because I ran out while I was building that. And then a bunch of brackets, which we need for the window design. And then also a couple of other odds and ends as well. And some green plate. And I should be green tiles in here somewhere, which is actually in this one, for the train track ballast, just to fill in the edges around that. And then some more dark tan and light gray pieces and a little bit of dark red, which you'll see in just a second here. But a lot of this is just for, I also just bought the metallic silver slopes here just because they were interesting and relatively cheap. But this got to me pretty quickly, so huge shout out to the seller for getting this to me fast. And so you'll see some olive green stuff in here, 1x1 bricks because I don't have any, as you can see on the right there. And also some 1x2 bricks because I was running low. And I wanted to try and use these dark tan slopes. That was why I bought from this seller, because he had the both 1x2 or the 2x2 ones and then the 1x2 ones in one of these bags somewhere. But you'll see that in just a second here when I try and make an awning out front. That's why I bought these. And then I bought a bunch of other pieces as well. Like the brown pieces are for the planters out front and then also for the pillars on the side. So that is what we're doing. And then this little knife here I thought was interesting. I think it's from the Dungeons and Dragons CMFs, but I went ahead and picked that up because it was pretty cheap, and I think it looked pretty good with some of my Lord of the Rings figures, so that was nice. And that's pretty much it. So I'm not going to dump everything out and show you exactly what's inside here, but the gist of it is that I got a bunch of pieces for this, which can hopefully allow me to build up most, if not all of this. And also I started getting pieces for the fire brigade as well. So I'm going to count everything, make sure that it's here, and then I'm going to sort it out between the fire brigade, this building here, and then just other, and then we can take it from there and continue working on this. Okay, so I've been pretty busy and I've started to use the pieces. I counted them all and I separated them out between the stuff for the fire brigade, stuff for this, and then other stuff as well. And so now I have all this starting to take shape over here, and I think this is looking really good. And so what you'll see now is I'm starting to make the awning here. And so this is the little assembly that I'm making. So it's these dark tan slopes, and then I just put a 1x4 underneath, and then that is sitting in between the two modified plates there. And then that looks pretty good. I think that looks really, really nice. And then once we get the rest of it in, then we can set the angle how we want, and then we can probably plate over it. I'm thinking the plates for the next floor are going to sit like that, as opposed to being in line with this. I think that just makes a little bit more sense, so then you don't see the gap underneath there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. And then I also need to go in and finish making the windows. And then I also need to add the door in because I have not done that yet. So I'm going to need to do that as well. It might actually have to go backwards and have the door swing inwards because of the awning. I don't know if there's going to be enough clearance for that. So I'm going to have to put that like that there just for the time being, just to make sure that it's all good. But I'm really happy with this. I think this is looking good. And so with that being said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the facade here. I also went in and I fixed up the columns up front, so now they're all brown. And that is how I want them to look. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. And then this here, is the facade is going to be pretty much done. And then I want to go to the back and I want to add some windows in here to hopefully save on some of the olive green 1x6s. Because like I said, I used up half of them already, or almost half of them. And so I want to go in and I want to fix that up. And I want to preserve them as much as I can, because I want to make this 3 floors, because each floor here is pretty short as it is. It's only 7 or 8 bricks tall. So it's not crazy tall, but I want to get at least a good 3 floors on there. I think that would make it look pretty good. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish up the awning and the facade, and then we're going to work on the back, and I will give you guys an update once the first floor is basically done. Okay, so I went ahead and I finished up pretty much the entirety of the first floor here. As you can see, I added each of the window assemblies in, which, like I showed earlier, is just the brackets, the clear bricks, and then the plates in the middle, and then the tiles on either end. And that's pretty much that. And then that just rests in the middle. And then I made 3 of them in total, and then the door is right here. And then the awning up top here. I chose dark tan just because the rest of the building was pretty muted. I didn't want to go too crazy about it. I thought about dark blue at first. That was my first choice. And then dark red was my second. I wasn't a big fan of either of those. Like, they looked good, but I thought the dark tan just worked a little bit better for what I'm going for here. And then for the back, as you can already start to see, I did go ahead and add a couple windows in. these are basic. I just used what I had on hand, and so that is pretty much that. And then I managed to save all of these bricks right here. So that's great to see, and so now I can use those for the second floor, which, speaking of, we are going to start right now. I will be doing the interiors at a later point. I don't know if that's going to be in this video or if it's going to be its own separate video. The interiors I normally don't do when I first build buildings because I don't know what this is going to be yet, and 2, they are extremely expensive. And so the amount that I'm spending or have spent on the entire exterior of this, I could spend on the entire interior instead. So I would rather have the exterior because you can actually see it. And then once it comes around to actually being time to add interiors to it, whether that's when the city's full or when I have a good idea for it, then I will go ahead and make that happen. But for the meantime, I'm just going to roll with this, an empty interior for the time being. And so I was thinking maybe like a photography studio or like an art studio, art gallery, something like that. I thought that could be pretty cool down here. But let me know what you guys think, if you think that's a good idea or not. And if not, drop a comment down below to let me know what you think. But for the meantime, I'm going to add some flowers onto these little planters out front here. And then we are going to start the second floor using those pieces right over there. And then hopefully this is going to start to take shape really nicely. All right, so I've been pretty busy, and I went ahead and I started the second floor. I also added some flowers out front here, and this actually kind of looks like a grocery store now to me, so I think that's actually what I'm going to end up going with, and maybe I'll put the photography and art stuff on the second and third floors. I think that could be pretty cool, but I think the grocery store or like a produce, like farmer's market kind of thing, I think would look pretty good down here. And so that is what it looks like down there. And so as you can see, I've already started the second floor and it's taken shape. I just need to go back in, and I forgot the windows again. So I need to fix that up. And then I also need to figure out what I'm doing with this, if I'm going to have a window on it or not. And then same with this, actually, because I don't know exactly what is going to go on back here. But that's what this is currently looking like. And as you can see, I already started prepping the window assemblies. I'm just one brick short, so I need to find one of those. But that is pretty much that. And so I'm pretty happy with this. I did go in and swap up the tiles a little bit, and so I can add the modified tiles in with the 2 studs on them. And then so I just need some regular 1x4 tiles to fill that in. And I believe there's another spot over here as well. So I got to fill that in, but for the most part, this is shaping up to be really, really good. And so I'm happy with this. And so let me continue working on it. And hopefully in the next clip, I will have most, if not all of this second floor done. And then we can take it from there. And it's pretty much just going to be a carbon copy from the second to the third. So that should be pretty simple. But again, I don't know how that's going to go yet because I don't know if I have enough pieces. I'm also trying to decide if I want to continue the pillars up. I'm thinking I want to do that, but I'm not totally sure. I'm going to try it, and then I'll show you guys how that looks. And then worst case, I just don't use them, and then I figure out something else to put here. I thought the dark tan would kind of help integrate the awning a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. So I might take those slopes out, but I'm going to try the pillars first and then see how that goes. All right, so a bunch of time has passed since that last clip there, and the second floor is pretty much done. So as you can see, I have the windows in. I am still missing that one brick. Unfortunately, I couldn't find another one, but I have a little balcony out here, and I might add a door in here, but that's not really a top priority at the moment. So probably just going to leave it as it is. Again, the interiors I will be fixing up either at the end of this video or in its own video. So this is what the back looks like, and it's pretty plain, but I am running pretty low on the 1x2 bricks. So I've just been using a lot of the masonry bricks throughout here just to fill it in so I don't have 1x2 brick holes in the wall. But this is pretty much that. I was thinking about also adding another something here, but I decided against it. I thought the brick wall might look a little bit better because I already have windows here and then also a window here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then this side is just pretty plain again. And so that is pretty much that for the second floor here. I did put the pillars in. I think I like them. I think I want to keep it as that. And so then the third floor would also have the pillars, I think, because the third floor is literally just going to be a carbon copy of the second, like I said. So I think that is probably the best way to go. And then as for the dark tan slopes, I don't know what to do about that. I like the curved slopes here. I think the awning looks really, really good. But as for these little cheese slopes in there, I don't know if I like that or not. So drop a comment down below to let me know what you think. and what you would do in that situation. But this is what it looks like so far. This is 2 floors pretty much done. And so with that being said, we are going to start continuing on the 3rd floor there. And then the only problem that I have right now is that I actually don't have enough jumpers in brown. So I am not going to have enough to finish the windowsills and also for the bases of the pillars here. So I have to figure that out. I might swap these out for gray, these jumpers for gray, but I'm still a few short. So that wouldn't really fix my problem, I don't think. So that is where I'm at the moment. So again, here's a 360 spin of the whole thing. And I think this is looking pretty good. So with that being said, we are going to continue on to the 3rd floor and then take it from there. Okay, so I went ahead and I finished up the 3rd floor here. It is pretty much the exact same as the 2nd. It's just using slightly different pieces because of parts limitations. But as you can see, that is pretty much it. On the top floor though, I was running pretty low on the 1x6 bricks, so I did have to go to the ground floor, swap a couple of them out. And on this side wall here, I used a lot of masonry bricks. I don't love this, but it's going to get covered up by the building next to it anyways. So in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So not super worried about it. But the 3rd floor is pretty much done, except for this one window here. I managed to find a clear brick for this window, as well as all 3 of these windows, but I'm still 6 short. So I'm going to have to buy some more. And then also I'm 5 candlesticks short because the stacks are 4 tall plus the one right there. And so that is pretty much it for this 3rd floor here. I also went in and I added all the flowers, but I think this looks pretty good. And so with that being said, let me create a roof for this and we can place this in the city and we can see how everything looks once it's all in. Okay, so there is the roof that I just whipped up here. It's nothing fancy. It's pretty basic, but I think it gets the job done and it doesn't look too bad either. I didn't know what to do with the tops of these pillars here, so I thought I would just put a 2x2 brick and then jumper and then the 1x2 rounded plate there. That seems to work for me. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, but I think this looks fine as it is. And so with that, this building is like 95% done, or at least the exterior is 95% done, except for this one little section right here. But with that being said, we can now go ahead and place this in the city to see how everything looks. Okay, here it is in the city. This is the spot that I have temporarily designated for it, and I think it looks pretty good here. I could also move it back there, but I'm going to leave it here for the purposes of this video because this is where I had originally planned for it to go, and also I had designed it to go next to this building here so that there was a slight offset in the depth on the sidewalk. So that is pretty much that there, and I am extremely happy with how this looks here. As you can see down at the bottom, you can see the windows and the flowers on the planters out front, and then the same thing for the 2nd and 3rd levels right there. I think this looks really, really good. I am extremely happy with this, and so that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe, as well as click the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads, like adding an interior to this. If you guys have any feedback for me on anything you want me to add to this, let me know in the comments down below. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think. And also, I am planning on making the 1st floor a supermarket, and then also the 2nd floor to be the photography or the art studio or something like that. So let me know your thoughts on that. That is my tentative plan for the time being. So with that being said, I'm going to go start sourcing pieces for the interior and also for that one window that's missing a couple pieces. But seriously, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.